Good morning and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. Sorry to keep you waiting there for a moment. I have just been setting up my new camera. Look, I'm in colour now. I don't look like I've been printed out on a Game Boy printer from 1991. Hello everyone in the chat. We've got Francis Winrow in there. We've got Martin Harrow. We've got Diz as well. Diz from 66. And we've got Veg Pie. And we've also got Amy in there as well. Blah blah CWAC. We've got Colin Baker. C Dizzy Dizzle is in there. Hey C Dizzy Dizzle. Morning to you too. Sarah Davis as well. Hello. Sorry I'm a bit late turning up. Hey listen, if you want to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button. Wait for a minute and you will be allowed to join. So it is Tuesday the 23rd. The 23rd of December 2025, and I'll just move Hans Gruber down one more, so his hands there on Hans hand is on 23 there, so you can see he's heading towards annihilation there on the floor on Christmas Day. So that's good. You got to keep your extraordinary robbers in their place, which is squished on the ground at the bottom in Nakatomi Plaza. And the quarterback is toast. So big shout out to everyone in the chat. Obviously, today we are going to be talking about Trump, Putin, and respect. And all I ever think of when I hear the word respect, in respect of a politician, is Cartman in South Park, dressed as a tiny little police officer, saying, "You will respect my authority." And this is what we've got to understand with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. For these people, respect means more than power. And it was very telling last weekend when Vladimir Putin had that. He did this thing last week where he stood there for 3 hours, or he sat there and just wibbled on about bollocks. But one of the things he talked about is that if Europe just respected Russia, then all this war would end. Everything would go back to the way it was, because all he wants is respect. This, it's not about popularity. It's not about legacy, even though Trump's putting his name on absolutely everything these days. It's about status, it's about legitimacy, and it's about who sets the rules. And liberal democracies derive influence from the norms, social norms, so rule of law, the institutions, predictability, alliances, whereas authoritarian personalities like Trump and Vladimir Putin, they don't accept any systems where respect is earned collectively. They want it personalized, they want it unconditional, they just want unconditional love. These are children who obviously came from abusive backgrounds. They've internalized that trauma and then externalized it out onto everybody else. And I'm not being a bleeding heart here. These two men are the most evil men of our entire generation, as in everyone who's alive on the planet right now. They're two of the most evil of them all. Out of 8 billion people, they're absolutely the devil. In fact, I think the devil's got better tunes, so I think they're even worse than the devil. But this is a psychological starting point for understanding Putin and Trump. Is they crave respect. They crave people to fear them, and rather than this sort of unconditional love that they get off some of their fans. They do get that, but the rest of us, they want us to love them as well, or at least fear them. And for those of us who don't and just think they're both a pair of clowns, then it kills them. This is what will take them down. This is what keeps them up at night. The fact that people like you and me think these people are fucking idiots, because they absolutely are idiots. I mean, they're people who have bitten off more than they can chew in the case of Putin. And in the case of Trump, he's a 12-year-old child. He behaves like a 12-year-old child. And anyone who supports these motherfuckers just wants a 12-year-old child in charge, which is pathetic. And so, I don't know. It just reminds me of people who I do find it kind of like weirdly emasculating the way people put celebrities, politicians, sports people on pedestals. I just think, really, they can do no wrong. I mean, you know, you can be a fan of someone and you can be delighted when they put some new music out, or when they win a football match or a fight, or when they, you know, when your political party does well in an election. You know, I can understand taking delight from that, and you know, you got to take the small wins in life, don't you? But living loving vicariously, is that a way of putting it? I don't know, but this sort of unconditional love for someone who doesn't love you back and wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. I'm thinking of Trump, Putin, Nigel Farage. I find it really frustrating that people fall for it again and again and again. It's just cult mentality, but it's the fact that these people will kill you as much as look at you, and yet these people worship them. And it isn't interesting that like no one from Trump's first term is still around in his second term, because he's burnt his bridges with them all, because they all became useless to him. I mean, even Elon Musk, that love affair that lasted a few months before he was persona non grata and writing things on X about Trump being in the paedophiles, which he absolutely is. He absolutely is. Parasocial, yeah, that's the word. That's one of the words of the year. Is it Merriam-Webster or something? The American dictionary. They put parasocial as the word of the year. This idea that you love someone who doesn't know who you are. But let's have a look at sort of where Putin is right now with his relationship with Europe, because this is all going to come back to the relationship between Russia and Europe, and America and Russia, not necessarily with the relationship with each other. But Russia emerged from the breakup of the USSR with some nuclear weapons, which have been growing more defunct by the year, but without any kind of ideological authority. It was flailing around for a good few years there, even in the first few years of Putin's administration. And NATO expansion and EU enlargement in the early 2000s weren't just military or economic blows, they were symbolic humiliations for the Russian state, a state that has suffered humiliation after humiliation because it keeps getting run by lunatics. What do you think's going to happen? You know, and there was a comment that Barack Obama made when he was president. He mentioned almost in passing that Russia was a regional power, and you've got to understand how much that phrase got under Putin's skin and those around Putin and the Kremlin, the KGB, the FSB, whatever it's called these days, the flying spaghetti bollocks. They because they see themselves still as a world power. To me, they're a little yappy dog, you know, one of these little tiny Shih Tzus that thinks it's a Doberman. And this is really embarrassing for them to be seen not as a global power anymore. You've got America, which for a long time was sort of the superpower, wasn't it, on its own. Obviously, China is hot on the heels now in terms of its size of the military and the economy. Even India, some could argue, is doing more on the international stage now than Russia is. Russia's creating a big stink. It's upsetting its neighbours. It's trying to pretend that it's bigger than it actually is. And whereas Russia is geographically a big country, a lot of it's wasteland. A lot of it you can't grow anything on it. Nothing grows. Where nothing ever grows. You know, it's all Live Aid again, Russia Aid, Ruskade. And it's not got that big a population compared with other countries, and for its size, especially when compared with China or with India, and it's got a GDP per capita, as I keep banging on about that of Nicaragua or Grenada, sorry, or Panama. You know, it's not a big player in terms of the world economy. It's not a big player in terms of global defence or war. It spends less on its army, its whole military, actually, not just its army, but its army, its navy, its air force. It spends less on that than America does on maintaining its own nuclear weapons. Trump's ordered a bunch of new ships, by the way. I'm going to go. Thank you for the super chats, and I'm going to mention this about Trump and his new ships. I know it's a bit of a segue, but here we go. Blah blah CW. Thank you very much. Trump and Putin supporters are kids that tag along with the bullies. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And thank you so much, blah blah CW, for the first super chat of the morning. Really appreciate that. And I also appreciate Miss Elby, who says, "Merry Christmas, you beautiful humans," and who's been a member for 7 months. Thank you so much. That is so nice of you. And then we've got Francis Winrow saying, the person from Trump's term that is around this term is Stephen Miller. That is true. And also his position within the Trump camp has been obviously inflated from where it was. So thank you very much for the super chat there, Francis. It's very kind of you. You are right. That he's been promoted. He's now like the chief of staff or something, isn't he, Stephen Miller? He's a horrible man. He's a horrible, disgusting, sallow-faced. He's horrific. He looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He looks like Gollum after a heavy night on the sauce. Like, but yeah, Trump's got these new battleships. Can I just go on a little segue here? Sorry. He's ordered these new battleships. First of all, right, they're going to be massive. They're going to have nuclear warheads on. What? And they're going to be the biggest ships that have been built of this class since like the war, right? So it's not an aircraft carrier, it's a ship. It'll have a helicopter landing pad at the back. But it's going to have a rail gun, right? The Americans and the Chinese, they've been trying to make rail guns since forever. They don't fucking work. They can't get them to work. Rail gun is a system where you use electricity to create a magnetic field that shoots a projectile at 5 times the speed of sound or something mad, and you can fire them once and then they fall apart because of the power, the energy involved is ridiculous, and there's no way of making the physics work, I don't think. But even, let's say they do work, let's just pretend in some fantasy world that the Americans didn't abandon their railgun project in 2021, which they totally did because it wasn't getting anywhere. Let's pretend that they work, right? So could you just tell me, right, if you, and look, I don't know anything about military strategy, you know, cards on the table, it's not my area of expertise by any stretch of the imagination. But as a lay person, I'd like someone to explain to me how it makes more sense to spend $15 billion per ship, right? So you have this big floating thing, $15 billion worth of ship and equipment on this ship, which can be taken out with a single torpedo, right? And then that ship's gone. And all the equipment on board is gone. It's all gone, right? How is that a better plan to spend your money than having lots and lots of small ships with a single container on board with hundreds of drones, only one of which needs to get through? Overwhelm your enemy with drones. Like, Trump is still fighting. He's like an old man with a stick in the back garden pretending to fight off the Nazis. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's absolutely Cecil B. demented in this respect. We've moved on. It's drone warfare now, as we're seeing in Ukraine. Like, that is drones versus drones. They are, there's hundreds, thousands of drones. And some of those drone attacks, some flying drones, some submarine drones, boat drones, have been really, really effective in taking out the old school stuff that used to be so important, like having a big massive fucking battleship. And to me, it just feels like absolute insanity to do this when I think, and you know, you might be able to explain why I'm wrong in the chat, because I'm happy to be corrected on this one, but like, come on, seriously. Anyway, I'm gonna start a goal because you know, it's nearly Christmas and all that, so don't give me any money just yet, because obviously it takes a minute to kick in. But let's get some Christmas confetti. Christmas confetti. And yeah, Diz is on commission for this, obviously. And there we go. We can go start the goal for our Christmas confetti. Oh yes, that's good. Bog Troll of Douchery says, Amy, yes. I hope you know something about me. If Trump was building a ship, I'll expect another Mary Rose incident. Actually, Liam, it's funny that you mentioned the Mary Rose, because I think you're on the money there. Because the Mary Rose famously sank because it had too many cannons on it. It was Henry VIII. He overstuffed the ship with cannons. I think the Mary Rose was the reason they brought in the Plimsoll line. Was that where it originated from? Someone's going to correct me in the chat. No, Graham, that was 200 years later in the sinking of the BSS Spelson or something. No, just let me know in the chat. But I think the Plimsoll line is the line of boarding the fully laden ship, and if it goes beyond, if the Plimsoll line goes beyond the water, so you can't see it, there's a chance the ship could capsize when you turn. Which is what happened to the Mary Rose. Martin Harrow, here we go. Oh, thank you, Martin. That's very kind of you. Martin's thrown £2 into the super chat fund. That is awesome. Hey, listen, sorry we didn't get to do an episode of Stateside last night. Both me and Scott were not in a position to be able to really do it. I was out visiting family and friends and stuff, and we would have had to do it really late. And Scott was like, "Oh, Graham." I'm like racing home to try and get this show done. He's like, oh, no. Which is probably the sensible option. Thanks, Scott. But yeah, like I say, it's Christmas. I'm here. I'm home in Liverpool. I'm trying to visit people and see people and work around their schedules as well. So I will endeavour to do. See you later, Mum. My mum's going out now. I'm endeavouring to do a show at 9 o'clock each morning, or 9:05 or 9:10. But each day, trying to get going. When is the quiz, says L Butterfly Effect? I think I'm going to have the quiz after Christmas, because then if anything happens in the run up to Christmas, I can include that into the quiz of the year. But I'm torn between wanting to do a quiz that actually involves other presenters, other YouTubers on the show live, and how to work that in with the audience. And I think what I'm planning to do is what we often do when we do a quiz on the rabbit hole, me and Rach, is that we give the contestants a chance to answer the question, and if they can't answer the question, I open it up to the people watching at home. We aren't Russia, Graham. We have a very small but versatile military. Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. Like, does it not make more sense to not put all your eggs in one basket? Like, to have one ship that seems uniquely vulnerable to me, and it only takes, like, if that gets swarmed by drones, right? And there's thousands of drones, which could happen in a drone strike, and one of them gets through, and that disables the ship. It goes into the bridge, it takes out the radar, whatever, it manages to disable the ship, and then once the ship's disabled, it's a sitting duck. It's a sitting duck, and you can say, well, I'm going to fire off all these. I've got this. What good is a nuclear missile against a drone? And it goes back to this idea that the Trump people have, because they're idiots, of like the only thing that can stop a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. Well, first of all, the guy who stopped the one of the Bondi killers was didn't have a gun. But secondly, like, unless you can shoot a bullet out of the air, which is nonsense, no one can do that. How does an extra gun help the situation? What you need is something to protect you from the guns in the first place. So, laws, better laws. Diz is saying he won't be driving home for Christmas. Diz is making a terrible Chris Vere joke. Chris Vere, who has sadly passed away yesterday at the age of 74, I think. Gravelly voiced guy who was a bit obsessed with driving places on the road to hell, which I believe he wrote about the M25. But yeah, sorry to hear that. But Plimsoll line is a line sits when it's fully laden. Yeah. The Mary Rose was retrofitted. She was outstanding when first made, but by then she was a bit rickety. Says Blue Badger. Andy says, because of the plasma in the spark behind the railgun projectile, it erodes the rails, so you have a limited number of shots. Yeah. I think it's just going to be one of those things like hydrogen and what's the other mythical fucking technology that's always just round the corner but we never get to? Oh yeah, nuclear fission and going to Mars. We're going to Mars by 2025. Well, you better hurry the fuck up. No, what's his name? Dickhead. I've forgotten what his name is now. Elon Musk. You better hurry up, Elon. You got 8 days. We're going to Mars by 2025. Yeah, sure you are, mate. Sorry, too soon, says Diz. Well, it's funny you say that, Diz, because me and Tan and Aid, we're in a little WhatsApp group called Fuck Your Bins. And I did moot the idea of us 3 doing a show called Too Soon, where we just made fun of dead celebrities. Anyway, it's the wrong type of weapon to use against ships. Andy, you talk about a railgun there. Oh, Andy's saying, well, it's like these super carriers. If something hits the flight deck, your entire reason for the carrier is gone. Yeah, exactly. And it's why, I don't know, I just like, I guess there's some very persuasive people in the military, or they're just doing what they're told by politicians who haven't got a fucking clue. They're just like, big ship, good. But if it was me, and I know I'm not a military tactician or anything like that, but if I had £15 million and the choice was to either create one ship or one big fuck off ship with all these weapons in, or to create 1,000 ships, a face that launched 1,000 ships, launched 1,000 ships, each packing 1,000 drones. Fucking swarm them. Absolutely swarm them. What can they do? There's just no defense against that. Surely the road to hell should be the A6666. Yeah, it's the road to Bolton, isn't it? Which is almost. The road to Hull is the M62. Then they are making a lot of progress. They're making a lot of progress on fusion. Oh, come on, Andy. They've been making a lot of progress on fusion since I was a baby. I'm still here. 46 years later, and they're still like, yeah, we're just round the corner. We managed to finally do an experiment that got more energy out than we put in. And I'm like, how much energy did you get out? It's like a fraction of a particle of a joule, of a millijoule. And I'm like, okay, cool. There's a lot of money floating around the US military industrial complex. Kinetic war is limited. More, a billion mother and baby drones. Yeah, you could as well have a drone fleet. Why put people's lives at risk? You don't need to. If you think about it, right? Let's think about it logically for a moment. All things being equal, if China decided to invade Taiwan, what would be more of a bulwark against that? Would it be one ship sitting there with a fucking railgun that they can only shoot 3 times, or would it be 1,000 drone ships, each with 1,000 drones on board, sitting in a fucking line, all within line of sight with each other along the coast of Taiwan? Yeah, that's great. But Graham said nuclear fusion. Yeah. I'm not talking about nuclear fission. Obviously, we can do that, but nuclear fusion. I mean, look, if one day we get it, bloody fantastic. But here's the thing about hydrogen and nuclear fusion. It's great on I'd love to see it, right? But we don't need it. We've got the tech right now to actually make all the energy that we need. We can pluck it from the air and from the sun, from geothermic power, from hydropower, from nuclear power, nuclear fission. We can do it. You heard Trump's just stopped all wind projects in America. All of them. And people are like, he's knocking down the White House, and that's like the least awful thing he's done. Knocking down the fucking White House, finishing Osama bin Laden's fucking mission to like destroy America. It's 4 targets, where the 2 towers of the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the White House. And he hit the Pentagon, he hit the 2 towers, didn't hit the White House, and now obviously Trump has done that for him. The UK has some submarine drones which are patrolling now. Kinetic weapons would be for interstellar warfare. Drones shaped like TIE fighters. Yeah, why not? Drones are a game changer. Look at Ukraine, use of them. Yeah, David Peacock, I completely agree, and I just think it's like, I don't know. I just think it's mad. Blah blah CW. Sorry, I meant you said nuclear fission, not fusion. Sorry, did I? Do you know what? I love being corrected if it comes with a super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Nuclear fission is splitting apart. Nuclear fusion is putting together. Nuclear fusion is what the sun does. But yeah, sorry, it's early in the morning. I think the invasion is unlikely because of the risks posed by using the Three Gorges Dam as a weapon of mass destruction. If sentiment changes, perhaps for a weak US, then it might be different. There's also the fact that, just like Finland has been preparing for a Russian invasion since forever, so's Taiwan been gearing up for an invasion from China since forever. Now, unless China doesn't care about Taiwan and just wants to have a nuclear wasteland on its doorstep, it will require them to put troops on the ground in Taiwan. They will have to do that. Doing that is going to be incredibly difficult, because going across from Britain to France for D-Day, that was pretty difficult, but it was only 30, 40, 50 miles. It wasn't that far. Whereas the amount of the amount of sea that you've got to cover getting from China to Taiwan is a lot more. It's 3 or 4 times the distance. And Taiwan geographically is it's like a vertical island, it's like a vertical strip. If it was horizontal, the Chinese might have an easier run of it, but it's essentially like a wall in the ocean, and it's vertical. I'm saying vertical, I mean like on a map. You can look at a map. It runs parallel with the coast of China. It doesn't run perpendicular. Okay, so it's like that, right? And what I'm thinking is to try and land troops in Taiwan is going to be so difficult. I think it'll be more like what happened in Gallipoli in First World War in Turkey, with the Anzac troops coming onto the beach and just getting absolutely slaughtered because the Turkish troops had the higher ground and they were just shooting down and they were shooting fish in a barrel. And Taiwan has a spine of mountains going down the middle of it. It is essentially a wall, and they can sit on top of that wall and shoot down. I know it's a bit more technical than that, but the idea that if China wants to do it, they do have the people power, because they've got a population of 1.4 billion. I mean, they've got enough people to swarm the island, but there'll be a lot of death. It will be a fucking shit show if they tried it, even without America's support or anything like that. It would be really fucking grim. David says, often get buzzed by drones when I'm driving at the East Lancs Railway. Some brilliant video on YouTube taken from them. Oh, cool. On the East Lancs Road. And L, Butterfly Chaos. I don't understand why is the East Lancs Road in the west? No, I've changed mine. Drones shaped like alien ships in Independence Day, flying out like a swarm. Yeah. I play a game called Sea Power, says Andy. Battleships aren't much use now. All you have to do is detect the enemy fleet, including BBs, and salvo your missiles, then turn around and go home. Yeah. And ships can't go very fast. I keep saying this. Okay, these big nuclear-powered aircraft carriers can go at like 40 miles an hour or something, which is amazing. That's very, very fast for a ship. But it's only 40 miles an hour, man. I mean, come on. I think there's some railway grade. Yeah, I know. Sorry, David. I just asked about the East Lancs Road, which is in West Lancashire. Well, what was West Lancashire, but I guess it's where it's going to. West Derby Road's not in West Derby, here in Liverpool. Being perpendicular with the Chinese coast would actually be crossing the T, giving mainland China the advantage. Yeah. I think it might be. I don't know. I don't really know how it sort of would work, but the way I see it on the map, somewhat possibly naively, I don't know. Taiwan just looks like a wall in the sea that goes, top to bottom. And yeah, they can put guns all along that. They can put fucking missile launchers and bazookas. I don't know, whatever. Drones, shitloads of drones, and also don't forget that the only place really making these top end microchips at the moment is for the NVIDIA GPUs that are required to run the AI revolution are made in Taiwan. So there you go. Submarines can travel faster than surface vessels. That is true. That is very true. He was on about the East Lancs Railway, Graham, from Bury to Rawtenstall. Rawtenstall is probably pronounced, isn't it? So that is in the east. That's good, isn't it? Not like the East Lancs Road, which is in the west. Will the quiz be called the Big Beautiful Quiz? It's a good idea. That'd be a good idea, Sarah. I don't know, maybe. Let's get back to Trump and Putin and sort of the psychology behind what they're doing. So, I think that this is all, just to put it down to brass tacks, I think it's all about humiliation. Trump has felt humiliated all his life because he's an idiot who thinks he's a genius. And so every time he does something fucking stupid, everyone laughs at him. He never felt part of the social elites in New York. They didn't want, the old landed families didn't want anything to do with him because he was new money. His dad was a slum landlord, a racist slum landlord. Trump's towers are just dead tacky and tasteless, and that's something that's carried on into later life for Trump, his love of tacky, tasteless, chintzy shite. And they laugh at him. And same with Putin, he just gets laughed at, and he loves plastic that's been spray painted gold because he's just a fucking, these men are just children. They're just children going, oh, shiny thing. Ooh. In fact, I think 12-year-old would have better taste. But yeah, the Russia emerged from the USSR, a wrecked state, and they just feel like they've been humiliated time and time again by NATO, by the EU, doing really well. They look across the fence at their neighbour and they're like, oh, you're doing all right, aren't you? Oh, I hate that. And Ukraine is a place where Russia has tried to earn respect through fear, but it hasn't really worked. All it's done, as far as the national psyche of Ukraine is concerned, is absolutely turned any moderately sympathetic Ukrainians who are sympathetic to the Russian cause or the Russian state against Russia. So, for instance, since the invasion, it's not just been a diplomatic, you can call it that, diplomatic break with Russia, with its old comrade in the USSR. It's also been ideological in that they have done things like they have moved the church. Is now not the Orthodox Church of Moscow, it's the Orthodox Church of Kiev or Ukraine. It is no longer, they no longer celebrate Christmas on January the 7th, which is the Orthodox Christmas, the date for Orthodox Christmas. They're celebrating on December the 25th, more in line with Catholic and Protestant Christmas. They've also made it so that Russian is no longer a state language. They have made it so that any communications, all that kind of stuff, is in Ukrainian, and there's been a big push to teach this next generation of children Ukrainian rather than Russian all over the country. I think before the invasion, in the east of the country in particular, there's a lot of Russian speakers there. In Crimea in particular, a lot of people born in Crimea felt that they were Russian. Not everyone, but yeah, they did have a referendum to break away from Russia in the 90s, and the people of Crimea said yes. And I think that should be respected. Even if it was only 51%, it should be respected. But obviously it's not, because it's not the 51% or 52% that they were looking for. So this is it. I mean, I feel like this war is ended up being like this idea of Russia asserting itself as a world player again. But I can't help but feel it's blown up in their faces. Like, they can't even beat a country. They can't get air superiority. They still haven't. 4 years in, they still haven't got air superiority. It was supposed to be a 3-day special military operation, and here we are, 1,600 days later, or whatever it is, still going on. The Ukrainians have managed to take out the navy pretty much in the Red Sea, so much so that the Russians have had to pull back out of Sebastopol. And the whole invasion of Crimea back in 2014 was to make sure that they kept hold of that military base in Sebastopol, because it's hugely important for Russian military aims. And they thought, well, if we lose this in the next few years, then we're going to have to rethink our entire military strategy. Ukraine's done a really good job of taking out Russian submarines and Russian battleships and Russian all sorts with their drones. And this idea that Russia's got into this war to try and claw back some lost prestige, but I think in the long run they've just humiliated themselves further, because they can't even beat Ukraine. That has no nukes, that doesn't have much in the way of an air force, and has no navy, and they can't beat them. And it smacks a little bit of Vietnam, and this is something that gives me a bit of hope, actually. It's really hard to occupy somewhere that doesn't want to be occupied. I mean, here you go. Afghanistan. 20 years the Americans were in there. 20 years. And the Allies, Britain was in there as well. 20 years to try and get rid of the Taliban, and they couldn't. And this was the biggest military in the world, and they couldn't win. They just kept losing soldiers, just kept losing personnel. For what? And I think any occupied country will behave the same way. They're not going to sit down and go, okay, fair enough, you won that one. They're going to keep fighting, and there'll be people fighting. There'll be old people fighting with sticks and stones against the Russians, because they don't want them there. They do not want them there. They'll never want them there. There's not going to be a big turnaround. People going, oh yeah, actually, I'm glad that you kidnapped 20,000 of our children. That was a good thing you did. Do you know, there was a guy on the radio last week who tried to say that it was a good thing. I think, who was he talking to? I think he was talking to Ian Dale. And Ian Dale hung up on him, because he was like, I'm not even listening to this anymore. He's trying to justify Putin kidnapping 20,000 children to be sexually abused by these monsters, by these paedophiles in Russia. Unbelievable. It says Dunning-Kruger personified. Yeah, Trump, yeah. Am I right in hearing that his dad thought he was an idiot? Yeah, so Donald Trump, I think he had an older brother called Fred Trump. I think his dad was called Fred Trump as well, and he had an older brother, or a younger brother maybe. I think that was more humiliating than that. I think it was a younger brother, but it was a bit like a Godfather situation where Michael wasn't the oldest, but after Sonny gets at the checkpoint, sorry, spoilers, his brother Fredo was vaulted over, because he's a tasty snack that used to be only 5p, but these days he's working with the, he went against the family. You don't do that. You just don't do it. But their dad, Vito Corleone, obviously saw that Fredo was an idiot, and so that's why the power of the mob in The Godfather passed over to Michael. And I think the same thing happened with Trump. I think that his dad didn't want him inheriting his slumlord empire. I think he wanted to give it to Fred, and Fred was the golden child, and then Fred died, and I think that's what happened. Fred Trump is Mary Trump's dad and was the older brother. Okay, he's the older brother. So I think Trump has always had this thing in his head that he's always been the inferior one. I assume. The best thing, older brother, airline pilot, committed suicide. Shit. Blue Badger, the best thing about the Ukrainian drone tech is that they know it must cost them less than what it's hurtling at. And they keep getting it right. Flamingos cost them less GDP percent than defense missiles used. Yeah, the drone tech has gone through the roof in the last few years. I would... If I had money to invest in stupid shit, deadly, life-ending, world-shattering shit, I would invest in drones before AI. I was an alcoholic as well. Yeah. Did you know the British were in Vietnam at the end of World War II? Says Andy. I didn't, because it was French Indochina at the time, so I suppose that makes sense because the French were our allies in World War II. Singapore was a British colony that got absolutely overrun by the Japanese quite brutally. Oh my god! And then obviously famously they took over Malaysia, the Malay Peninsula, and also Thailand, which is where the famous bridge on the River Kwai is, which was the Imperial Japanese trying to build a bloody railway through the jungle, quick, smart. Chris, my ex, a nurse, bought a flat. Turned out below her was a pot dealer. She was inhaling it all the time. She got teased at work. If she got tested at work, she'd have been screwed. It was the reason she sold up. Wow. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I'm not going to go on about that because I get some shit from people. I'm like, no, leave my pot alone. Oi, Graham, leave my pot alone. And then we can talk about Trump and his sort of humiliation, not just from his family, but who don't respect him, but his measures. He measures who respects him sort of visually. It's all about presence and who flatters him and who bows and who stands and who doesn't side-eye him. Everyone fucking side-eyes him. And democratic leaders don't flatter him. They tolerate him. Whereas autocrats are like, oh, you're the best, you're amazing, you're so cool. And I think that Trump's humiliation, and when he was standing for a picture with other NATO leaders or with the leaders in Europe, he hated the way they all clearly just despised him and had no time for him, and they're all laughing at him behind his back because he's a big... He's a fucking idiot. He's a bungling fool, an absolute dickhead. And we're all looking forward to the big beautiful day when it comes. The Europe's eye rolling mattered more to him than any policy dispute or territorial dispute or economic dispute. It's the eye rolling. It gets to him. It really gets to him. He hates being laughed at. Bullies can't stand it because their job is to laugh at other people and make fun of other people, make fun of disabled people, make fun of people who were captured by the Vietnamese in the Vietnam War and tortured. He makes fun of them. He makes fun of dead people. He makes fun of people who have been murdered by their own child, the grown-up child. He's the one who makes fun of people, and when people make fun of him, he can't take it. And you saw this during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is probably the stupidest thing that, in hindsight, that Barack Obama ever did, because he made fun of Trump and made a joke about all of his books. They always finish at chapter 5 or something, because that's the term for bankruptcy, and it's a type of bankruptcy in America. Was it chapter 11? They always finish at chapter 11. And Trump hated it. He was sitting there stony-faced. He was not laughing at all. This is a man who could not take a celebrity roasting for any stretch of the imagination. And Trump's grievance isn't anti-European necessarily. It is anti-side-eye. That's what it is. It's anti not being treated with respect, I guess. And the European Union, unlike China, unlike Russia, unlike America right now, it embodies rule-based legitimacy rather than brute strength. And Europe functions as proof as proof of concept that cooperation can outperform domination, and it reflects America's post-war ideals better than America currently does. The American dream is dead. All we have left is the American nightmare, which is Trump in power for the next 3 fucking years. More than 3 years. 3 years and a month. He's going to be in power for another at least 3 years and a month. Jesus, it's going to be a long 3 years. Destroying Europe's credibility is easier than outcompeting it, isn't it? And for Trump, he sees Europe, the European Union, these countries working together. It's kind of intolerable. He hates the idea of peers, a group of peers who are all at the same level. He hates that idea. He lives in a world of hierarchies where he's the king and everyone else is below him, and he commands his lieutenants to go and do horrible things on his behalf, and he can't imagine a democracy, a real functioning democracy where people get a say and people get asked if things are how are you getting on, are you happy, then I'm happy. He can't envisage that. It's 100% against what everything he stands for. Everything he stands for is horrible. He's a horrible man. He's a horrible, stupid, evil orange man. Imagine being so desperate for respect that you become the leader of the free world and prove yourself utterly unworthy of the respect you crave, says Gallifreyan Wren. Yep, absolutely. And Fred Trump Jr. drove Fred Trump Sr. drove Fred Trump Jr. to alcoholism. He belittled his career as an airline pilot, calling him a glorified bus driver. Jesus Christ. Mary Trump is top drawer. Yeah, she is good. I do like her. Elle says Chris. I've read that one. Oscar says Thailand is one of the rather exclusive countries that hasn't been invaded by the British. Out of almost 200 countries, only 22 escaped. Yeah. There was a discussion on the radio yesterday, and it was one of the things I was thinking of talking about today, actually, about reparations. Lewis Goodall was taken over from what's his name? The fella who does the show in the morning, James O'Brien, and he was talking about reparations, and of course the dickheads call in, don't they? And Lewis Goodall was talking about his reparations bingo card that he had, because it was like, his reparation bingo cards was like, what about the pirates of the Barbaric coast? They had slaves. What about the Romans? What about the Normandy invasions? He had one guy ring up and go, my ancestors were pagan. When am I going to get compensation for them being taken out by the Christians? It's just like, you're not suffering. Your society is not suffering today because of that. It's as simple as that. But it was interesting to hear these dickheads who don't have any clue about British history calling up saying we shouldn't pay reparations for slavery. Why should they get money off us? It's like, it's not that simple, but it does show why we shouldn't call it reparations. We should call it investment. Everyone likes a bit of investment. Saw a comedian once years ago who suggested that we shouldn't call it the euro. If you want to join the euro, we should call it a bargain. Everyone loves a bargain. How much does that cost? 100 bargains. Oh, that sounds great. The more bargains you can have, it's fucking fantastic. The more bargains something costs you, it's even better. What was that? It was 1,000 bargains. It's all in the nomenclature. So yeah, don't call it. I know this is like, it's going to be the same thing, but instead of calling it reparations, call it investment. And we invest in our Commonwealth, the shared Commonwealth of 56 nations around the world. 52 of them are poor as shit. But yeah, I think it was one of my neighbours having the car repossessed. Oh dear. And Plum, you're entering this territory now. Is Plum pushing for the for the super chats? No. Remember the TV show The Flumps? I don't even remember the Flumps. I do like Flumps as well. Delicious. The Flumps refuse to have any dealings with the Trumps, says Plum. Blue Badger says Europe is like non-Newtonian based armor. It's squidgy and malleable and allows movement, but if you make an impact, it deflects bullets. That's a good way of putting it. Non-Newtonian liquid metal. Morning, guys. It was a sorry day when Trump's mum gave birth to a monster. She did indeed. I wondered what a 12th century Graham Hughes would be like. Interesting thought. Well, it depends where I would be born. If I was born as a peasant, I just get on with the work, to be honest with you. I just be working in the fields, and I quite enjoy doing manual labour. I quite enjoy actually fixing stuff and making stuff with my hands. There's a certain level of satisfaction. You know, I'll be helping building stuff, I'm sure, building the village hall, and I don't know, maybe I'll take up masonry or something, chipping away a block of granite and making an angel out of it. That'd be fucking awesome. I'd love to do that. If I was born into the aristocracy, I'd just be having orgies all the time. I think that's what I'd be doing, and going and eating wild boar. Cooking, I'd probably do a lot of cooking. Oh, you couldn't get the flavours though, could you? You couldn't get the spices back in the 12th century. That would suck. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. If it was part of the aristocracy, I'd just be having parties all the time. That's what I'd be doing. Having parties in my castle. Yeah. I don't think I'd be streaming. Do you know what? Actually, yeah, I'd like to be a storyteller in the village. Maybe I'm not old enough, but maybe I was a bit older. I always loved the stories of Robert Louis Stevenson when he went to live in Samoa in the Pacific Ocean. He had a house built called Valimo, I think. I'll have to look that up. And the locals loved him. He wasn't like a typical British person who turned up with a gun and a Bible. He turned up and he told them stories, and he's still quite revered amongst the Samoan people as this storyteller who came from halfway around the world. And he lived out his last few years of his life in Samoa. But he's really, really respected. I like to be a storyteller. You know, sit around the campfire, sit around the village fire in the evening and tell stories, make up stories, fantastical stories about flying machines. Don't forget, they were telling stories about flying machines back in the day. Icarus and Daedalus. They had flying machines, didn't they? Feckle Puny, that's the $64,000 question. Will he last 3 more years? He gorges on Big Mac, fillet o' fish, and double cheeseburger in one sitting. He mixes them up and turns them into a Frankenburger. Ooh, sounds disgusting. Listen, I'd love to think he's going to pop his clogs, but I'm not going to bet the farm on it. Look at Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe famously lived till he was, 93 was it? Or 94? And he was leader of Zimbabwe till nearly up to the end there. He only stood down when he had this absolute guarantee that he would not be prosecuted for all his many crimes that he committed when in office. 12th century Graham and Phil arguing about whether the Magna Carta would be a good idea. Yeah, indeed. It's the alarm that's going to queue. Server center would have a key, says this. I still think that we should have an inquiry into a look at Russian interference in British politics, and we're getting one. So I'm happy. I'm happy. I still think that Farage will do a deal with the Tories at some point. I think saying that it won't happen because the Tories hate people from Refuck, I think it misses the very clear point in all this, that the Tories don't care about ideology, they don't care about old grievances, all they care about is power. Anyway, meanwhile, Australia gets threatened by Israel. Why is Australia getting threatened by Israel? What the fuck is going on there? How is Trump still alive eating like that? How many calories is that? He probably has his arteries flushed out every couple of days with the cleaning fluid they use for the Guinness. For the Guinness lines in the pub. Billy says, I'm a minstrel or wandering beggar. Hark, Hark, do the dogs do bark, the beggars are coming to town, some in rags, some in jars, and one in a velvet gown. Yeah, Billy, a storyteller that goes from town to town telling stories, because that'll get me travel kit going as well. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Maybe I'll just go on an adventure, you know, see what's in the east. Maybe I'll get a boat and see what's in the west. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be the the Christopher Columbus of the 1100s, since Christopher Columbus was an absolute fucking monster who ended his third. He went 4 times to the New World, and at the end of his third trip to the New World, he was sent back to Spain in shackles as a prisoner for his treatment of the indigenous people, because he was that monstrous to them. Chris lol, if you mind you, no heart pills in the 12th century, so you'd be gone in a flash. Well, yeah, I think a lot of us might not be if we were born in the in those days. I've done quite well so far in terms of stuff that would have wiped me out had medical intervention not stepped in. There's nothing where, had I not got medical intervention, I would have been a goner in my life so far, but I'm sure it could happen soon, whenever. But I did get all my vaccinations. Oh my God, I got my vaccinations before I went travelling. Japanese encephalitis, yellow fever, dengue. Did I get dengue fever? I think you could get that. Rabies, the 3 shots. I got diphtheria, typhoid, hepatitis A and B. Oh my God, I got everything. I went into the School of Tropical Medicine here in Liverpool, and I was like, give me everything you got. Where are you going? Everywhere. I'm going to every country in the world. Give me everything you've got. And for the 4 years and 1 month of my journey to every country in the world, I didn't have a day off ill. I didn't have a single day off ill. I had a day off hungover, kind of. I was still travelling. I was just travelling with a hangover, but I didn't get ill. Didn't get anemic dysentery, which is just mind-blowing to me considering some of the stuff I ate, especially at the side of the road in Africa, especially in West Africa. Side of the dirt track in Africa. They'd have some meat that was getting done on a little, barbecue, and next to it would be this, bit of bread to put your meat in, and the bread would have flies all over it, and they'll just wave the flies away and give you this. Yeah. Anyway, my rule was don't drink any water, just drink beer, and try and don't eat anything cold. Make sure everything's hot. Although I did celebrate my entry into the Gambia by having a prawn salad, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best of ideas, but I didn't get ill. So there you go. All because Australians want a Palestinian state. And so does Britain. Britain has now said that they recognise Palestine as an independent state. Gods don't savage you to death while Spaniards laugh at you. What? We shouldn't try and travel further back than the 1600s. That language becomes too difficult to understand easily. Well, that's a point. And Nacti was a wordy man. His horse was pretty, but he was not netgi. Columbus used to set dogs on the locals. God, fucking... Yeah, Columbus was a fucking nightmare. Absolute fucking nightmare. I can see why people want to pull down the statues of him. What's this Michael Puny saying? Like Glenn Quagmire, immune to every disease possible. Yeah. I try. Well, look, I also took my anti-malarials every day to make sure I didn't get malaria, and I just did everything in my power. Like, I wasn't an idiot about it, but I would have expected, just on the balance of probabilities, to get ill at some point on my travels, but I just didn't. So either I'm just the luckiest badger who ever lived, or vaccines work. Vaccines work, kids. So yeah, back to Trump and Putin. And my trip to the forum. Trump has been described as an angry drunk with a bazooka. Allies no longer treat the US as predictable or principled because of Trump. Diplomatic language has become appeasement in the last few months, not partnership. And they're humouring him. We're humouring him here in the UK, and leaders across Europe are humouring him, and in Canada and Australia and New Zealand, they're just humouring him. But this is the collapse of American soft power in real time. Like, because what Trump desperately wants, respect, is not something that he will ever be able to gain because of his personality, because of his toxic personality flaws. It's a bit like someone who wants to be a racing driver but can't drive. And then when they try to drive, or, you know, a fabulous baker but can't cook and just burns the cakes every time. Just someone who really, really wants to do something. You know, do you know what he's like? He's like someone on the X Factor who can't sing. And it's sad. It pains me. I never used to watch the X Factor because I thought it was just humiliation television. Because you had these poor bastards going on for the heats, you know. And the heats were the funny bits that everyone liked because it was just funny to watch someone just absolutely sing like just the worst and have the whole nation laugh at them and have the panel going, who told you you could sing? And I found it sad because I thought, bloody hell, imagine not having the relationship with any of your friends where they can say to you, you know, oh fucking hell, you sound like a bag of arse. You sound like a bag of fucking drowning kittens. What do you think? What are you thinking? Like, who told you could sing? You know, okay, you can play the piano, you can play the guitar. We'll stick to that and get someone else to do the fucking singing. But no one had said that to them. So Trump is like one of them. He goes out on stage thinking he's the greatest singer. You know, he thinks he's fucking Pavarotti, but he just sounds like a screeching banshee. And everyone's sitting there watching it going, did no one tell him? Did no one tell him he can't sing for shit? Did no one ever point that out to him? Maybe they did and he fucking ignored them, I don't know. But I'd feel sorry for him in another world, in another life, if he wasn't President of the United States. But he's the President of the United States and he's shit at it. He's shit at the job that he's got to do. And what he's done as a result of being shit at the job that he's there to do, he's destroyed American power. He's just destroyed American soft power around the world. And it's not just the Europeans that are laughing at him. It's everyone else as well. They're just kind of better at hiding the side eye. And obviously Trump is very, very, very beneficial to the dictators of China and Russia, North Korea, who's not getting mentioned very much. Remember he was obsessed with North Korea and he wanted to meet Kim Jong-un. He doesn't need to mention that these days. Liz Allen, wonder how ticked off Trumpers would get if we made a blockbuster movie about the atrocities committed by Columbus and released it on Columbus Day. Yeah, we could do that. I'm sure the Guardian would love that, to put that movie into its top 50 films of the year. Jesus Christ. I'm obsessed with this list. I'm obsessed with the Guardian list of the best films of the year. Yesterday I was taking snippets from the descriptions of them, and I think it was 40 of the 50 films were just like stuff that was just insanely depressing. It was just like, really? This is where you're going with this? Oh, sorry, my mic went funny there. Yeah, let's have a look. Where's me notes? Where's me notes here? Got a new phone. Oh. Do you know what? I've got a new Google phone and it's fucking shit. It just does annoying things like recent, and it's only got like one link. It's only got one link. What? Why have you only got one link on the clipboard? What's the point of having a clipboard if it only holds one link? Let's see if we can get it from here. Sorry about this, everyone. You're just watching me playing with my phone and you can't even see it. Hello, it's here. Oh my god. What? Tips. It's got some tips and it's got like a little down arrow. That just gets rid of it. Where is all my clipboard gone? Where's my clipboard gone? What is even happening right now? Someone's going to tell me in the chat now. They're going to be like, oh, your clipboard on your Google phone can only hold one thing at a time. Oh well. I did make a big long list. Damn it. I was clipping each one so I could read them all out off my clipboard. Mustn't have enough RAM. Mustn't have enough fucking RAM. Jesus Christ. I fucking hate that word, appeasement. Yeah. It's got peas in it. Don't like peas. I like beans. They say give peas a chance, but I say fuck that. Beans make my day. But yeah, you've Trump is trying to replace or try and gain admiration through fear, using the madman technique of just like being unpredictable and stuff. But America built the system that Trump is now dismantling. That built that through the Marshall Plan after 1945. It built America. It built up Europe with democratic, pushing for democratic legitimacy. It was America that pushed for the end of empire. There were lots of other reasons as well, but America didn't want these countries having these mad empires all around the world. And the EU grew out of American-sponsored cooperation framework. So the European Coal and Steel Collective, or whatever the fuck it was called in the 1950s, the precursor to the European Community, or the EEC, the Economic Community before the European Community, before the European Union. That grew out of American-sponsored cooperation deals. And Trump inherits the benefits of Europe working together, and there being so many valuable consumers in Europe. And this is what drives me mad about these dickheads who go on about how much they hate Europe, which is we're part of the continent of Europe. It's like there's so many potential customers in Europe. There aren't any customers anywhere else. Where are your customers going to come from? Oh, we're going to take the opportunity to trade with us. Where are the customers? Please tell me, explain to me, like I'm an idiot who doesn't have a degree in history and politics, who never went to fucking every country in the world. Just explain to me where they are, okay? Just where are these customers that aren't in Europe that are going to buy your shit? Are they in Africa? I don't think so. What have you got to sell people in Africa? What are you making that they want? You're going to sell it to people in Asia, in Central Asia? You're going to sell it to people in Kazakhstan? Kyrgyzstan? You're going to sell it to people in Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or Turkmenistan? I don't think you are. I don't think you can sell anything to them. Who are you going to sell it to? You're going to sell it to people living in Paraguay and Bolivia? Are you? Are you fuck? Who are you going to sell it to? You're up against... Once you move out of Europe and you're looking at customers, potential customers, who on the whole have got less money than the people per person than people in Europe, and they're further away, and there's another place called China that can make or provide whatever it is that you're selling them cheaper, and there is no way of undercutting them. There is absolutely no way. I mean, even if it was a physical good, you'd send it over to Brazil from Britain on a Chinese ship. So frustrating. And America, like under Trump, they are very Brexity. They're very, pushed by Russia, because Russia's not going to buy your stuff. Russia's not going to buy anything off you. Why would Russia buy something from you that you make? They can either make it themselves or get it from China, which is closer. They share a border, a land border, a massive fucking land border with China. Just the very idea that like we can get better customers elsewhere is just the biggest and most stupidest bit of logic that the Brexiters come out with, and they come out with a lot of fucking leaps of the imagination when it comes to reality, economic reality, Brexit reality. But America and under Trump is full of this. They think they're going to sell more stuff to India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. They're not. They might sell military stuff to the governments of those countries. They're not going to sell to the people on the street. They can make it themselves or get it from elsewhere cheaper. Oh yeah, but we got to think about all those consumers in these developing nations. Well, maybe if you're Coca-Cola and you've got an amazing logistics network set up over decades, and you can manage to get your Coca-Cola down to, a little village of Papua New Guinean Highlanders or people who live in the jungles of Gabon in Africa. I mean, maybe at a stretch, you can sell your fizzy drink product to them. That was made in the UK. But Coca-Cola already exists. They've taken that niche and they're going to fight like hell to keep it. What are you going to sell them? What the people with that much money on the other side of the planet? And then Trump and his mates are going, we don't need Europe. We don't need Europe. That's the mantra. Europe's unnecessary. Europe's just a distraction. But here's the reality. The people of India, the people of Russia, the people of China don't buy that much, relatively, American shit. Now, look at China. So Tesla was doing really well in China. Tesla, an American company, a few years ago, it was the best-selling car in China. That was a few years ago. It's nowhere near the best-selling car now. I don't think it's in the top 10 top-selling cars in China at the moment, because you've got BYD, you've got other companies making electric cars a lot cheaper, lot cheaper, and for the Chinese market, for like things that the Chinese people go for, the stuff that they like. And so, as far as being competitive is concerned, Tesla might have been there at the beginning, but it's getting absolutely mullered by the domestic market for cars in China. That's just one example, and that happens a lot around the world. It's very difficult to get around that. The way that Coca-Cola does it, by the way, and the way that Tesla tried to do it is by bottling the Coke or making your cars in the country that you're going to sell it in, which makes sense. And people can talk about the untapped middle class in India. There's there's a lot of money to be made there, but having the option to sell stuff to people in India on top of being able to sell stuff in Europe is the sensible way of doing it. But to cut yourself off from selling stuff to Europe in pursuit of a mythical dream of replacing that trade that you had with Europe, replacing it with trade with India, with Russia, with China, with Australia, with New Zealand, with its population of less than 5 million. It's for the birds. It's for the birds. Like, what do people think in this? I assume have never been anywhere. They've never seen the world. They've never seen the poverty out there. They've never seen the lack of logistics when it comes to getting your goods off the ship into a port in Africa. They've never seen it. They've never experienced it. I have. So yeah, I'd sometimes pull rank on this matter because it drives me up the wall that when people just do this thing, they sort of wave their hand and go, we'll trade with the rest of the world, like it's this magical fairy tale fucking place where everyone's minted and they can all afford to buy your Nissan Qashqais. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. I mean, you can maybe make a few prestige cars to sell to the Middle East, but it's not that many people in the Middle East either. So anyway, yeah, the MAGA's vision for Europe, which was put forward in that fucking defence document the other week. They're saying they're going to support far-right parties. This is an ideological alignment with Russia, with Putin, and with America right now. And the goal there is to weaken collective institutions and to empower nationalist strongmen like Orban and Erdogan and Putin and all those cunts, gobshites, shitbags and fuckbigs. I'm sorry, I just demonetised the chat. Quick, throw some super chats in. Oh, we've only got 5 seconds to do the super chats. Oh no, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Oh dear, we didn't get our Christmas confetti. All right, I'll start another goal. Go on then. You twisted my arm. I'm like, what? Really, Graham? So five super chats. Give it a moment though, because obviously, if you do it too quick, it doesn't register. I will remind you. He's the man with the orange touch. Says Diz. BYD are great electric cars at reasonable price. Yeah. I was once forced to ride in the work swashed car. I didn't rate it. Yeah. Halal and kosher is the same Harry Potter draped cruelty. Sorry, what? Andy, halal and kosher is the same Harry Potter draped cruelty. Aren't they changing it? Aren't they bringing in an animal rights bill where we're not going to be able to boil lobsters alive? They're getting rid of bait training, and they're going to make it so you have to stun animals before killing them in a kosher or halal fashion. There you go. Takes about 30 seconds to do a super chat, says Martin Harrow. Yeah, Diz is sad there. Look at the sad Diz face. Oh no, they're crying with laughter. Sorry, Diz. I thought you were crying because you didn't get your confetti. If you do want to get confetti, now's the time. Now's the time, my friend. Gallifreyan Ren, we don't need Europe where we heard that before. Well, yeah, exactly. So yeah, they want to. The Americans and the Russians are teaming up to try and take on Europe. They want to fragment it, because then it's easier to bully and flatter, and they want to replace law with loyalty and norms with deals. Trump is a transactional president. It's all about the quid pro quo, something for something. A Europe that mirrors MAGA America rather than resisting it. And you know what MAGA America looks like. It looks like no rights for anyone who's not a white Christian middle-aged man. A cisgender, straight, middle-aged man, white. And this is Trump's strategy. He's claiming about that they have this unrivaled soft power while dismantling the machinery of soft power that made America so influential. And you only have to see the number of fast food places around the world to see how influential America is. Its propaganda industry has been going great guns for over 100 years now. People watching American movies and thinking that guns are magic wands that can do anything that you want them to do. That America's always the goodie, even when they're the baddie, they're the goodie, because they may have committed that war atrocity in Vietnam, but then they had a trial and the people who did it got their comeuppance. Yeah, when a lot of people committed war crimes in Vietnam and absolutely got away with it. They didn't make a movie about that. They thought they would get a big FTA with the US, says George only. Are you talking about the Brexiters? Yeah, they did. They were that naive. They were that naive that they honestly did believe that they were going to get which to me is just like, it's embarrassingly stupid. It's like, how'd you get to be so thick? Seriously though, how can you not know? I realise that I'm really bright, and I don't mean that I'm clever. I just mean this light is really kind of bright on me. I'm going to just take it down a little bit. I don't like this camera. It's kind of like just, I look quite flat. Do you know what I mean? Like my skin doesn't have it. Yeah. Anyway, that's not worked like I thought it would. But never mind. Anyway, where was I? America, fuck yeah, says Diz. Yeah. So we need another. Oh, see, George's super chat there didn't register. How sad is that? We're still on 0 out of 5. Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. And then, the hollowing out diplomacy, taking away US aid, the end of intelligence sharing and alliances. Like, we don't want to share intelligence about ships in the southern Caribbean Sea because America's using that information to commit war crimes, so we're not sharing it anymore. And that's a real worry. And America wants influence, but it doesn't want to invest the time and the energy that it takes to build that up. And it's becoming more and more like Russia every day, to be honest with you. How long does a boat to New Zealand take, says Cathal. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's very, very kind of you. It'll take a couple of months, realistically. I mean, I suppose, how fast could you do it? You'd have to stop along the way in in Port Said, and then go through the Suez Canal and get over to India. That's a few days, isn't it? It's a couple of weeks. And then you'd go around India to Singapore. You'll stop off in Singapore. I suppose you could, at a good less than a month on a ship, definitely. Maybe about 3 weeks. You could get it going from Southampton to Auckland, I reckon. I'm going to look it up. How long cargo ship from UK to NZ? Container ships, 6 to 8 weeks. But there are faster direct routes with 6 to 7 weeks, and then slower transshipment routes which take 8 to 10 weeks. So yeah, at least 6 weeks. That's 42 to 70 days according to the AI overview. But that could be talking bollocks. Let's have a look. Fastest. Air freight is the fastest way to do it. Yeah, the fastest services are 6 weeks. By the looks of things, yeah. I think technically you could probably do it in a month, but oh, thank you, Veg Pie, towards the confetti, thank you. I think technically you could do it in a month, but realistically you do have to stop along the way. Thank you, Cathal. And don't forget, so when you're taking a cargo ship out, you have a time that you're booked in for your pilotage to be brought into the port. And if you miss that opportunity, you miss that window, it might not be till the next day that the pilot can come on board. This is even more so going through the Suez Canal, where boats are booked up months in advance to be there at a particular time on a particular day. And most ships will try and get there the day before to make sure that they're ready to go through the next day. But if you are late, they'll try and slot you in, but you could be having a bit of a wait for that to happen. And then when you get to like a big port like Singapore, go to Singapore. There's a stupid fucking building there which is like 3 buildings with a surfboard on top. It looks fucking ridiculous. But if you go on top of there's like a party zone at the top with a what's that thing called, a swimming pool and stuff. You go and stand there and you can see out into around Singapore, and everywhere are ships. There's hundreds of ships out as far as you can see. And yeah, all of those ships are waiting to come in. They're all waiting to come into port, and some of them can wait for a long time to come into port. So even if you can go, well, technically if you're going you're going at 20 knots and you go in this is the direction, and everything happened on time and you didn't stop, you would have to stop because you had to refuel, but you didn't stop and you get all the way to New Zealand, you could do it in X amount of time. But I think the more realistic view is you might take 3 weeks to get to Singapore and think you're making great time, and then spend 3 weeks off the coast of Singapore waiting to come into to alongside. Yeah, I've heard stories about ships off the coast of Africa, Nigeria, or Kenya, Tanzania. They just sit there. They just sit out there for a month waiting to come in until the pilot's ready to bring them in. They can't come in without a local pilot. And the pilot doesn't turn up, you're just sitting out there on your boat hoping you've got enough food. Martin, thank you very much for the £2 super chat for Diz and Veg Pie. Thank you for the watch. That is very kind of you. Thank you. We only need 2 more super chats now. Starmer is unable to bully councils. Yeah, but I mean, he shouldn't be able to bully anyone. I don't think he can. 4-day weeks are proven to be more productive. I despair. What? Because you don't want 4 weeks? 4-day weeks? I have no problem with them. If you have longer days and then you make it up. Okay. So what have we got here? Yeah, I need to do the papers, don't I? I need to do the papers, but before I do the papers, we'll talk about NATO. We need to mention NATO, don't we? Well, America's been undermining NATO at the same time demanding that the constituent parts of NATO spend more on their defence. So this is kind of weird. He seems to think that America's defending all these different countries when they're not. And the idea that the country should have a minimum spend of their GDP on defence was something that was an invention of Barack Obama, not of Trump. So Trump is continuing on this Barack Obama policy because that's what he likes to do. Let's hope for a better 2026, says Urbane Legends. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for the super chat there. Unfortunately, 2026 is an even numbered year, and I do have a problem with even numbered years. They tend to fuck up in some way. I'm a bit weirdly superstitious about even numbered years, but breaking up NATO is something that is obviously Putin's wet dream, and Trump is going some way to ending what NATO stood for. He's already said that if European nations are invaded, the Americans are not going to be there to help them, undermining Article 5 of NATO, so which is the one that says if one gets invaded, we all get invaded. And the rather than what I say a lot about conservatives and about Republicans and Trump and Boris Johnson and all these knobheads, they don't know how to build anything. They only know how to destroy. And you could say, well, doesn't Trump build these towers? Yeah, but they destroy the skyline. They destroy things that are nice. The destruction of having something pleasant to look at, because all of his buildings are ugly as fuck. So there is a destruction in the creation of these buildings. There's a destruction of the environment in the creation of these buildings, because they're all made of fucking concrete, which is one of the worst building materials you can possibly use if you care about the environment, if you give a shit about your children being able to breathe air in the next 100 years. Confetti, thank you very much to Kieran Cross, and that is very, very kind of you. 2025, by the way, is the hottest year on record, again, since the last one. It's time we booted the US from NATO. Urbane Legends, I agree, and thank you for being a member for a month, but I agree. However, that's not what I would do. I wouldn't boot them from NATO. I would create a new strategic defense initiative. Oh no, I can't call it that, because then it would be an SDI. Oh no, that'll be all right, as long as it's not an STI, that'll be all right. Strategic Tactical Initiative. Here's a super chat for Diz. Oh, yay! Thanks, Sarah. And you know what that means, don't you? It means we trigger the confetti. Woo! Lots of lovely little bits of confetti coming down the screen there. Thank you so much. That is a very kind of you. Yuto. No, but I think it should include Australia, Taiwan, New Zealand, Canada, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Commonwealth countries. Imagine that. Get some Commonwealth countries on board. I mean, like I say, a lot of the countries you wouldn't get much in terms of military aid from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but intelligence sharing, that could be fucking useful. Bane Legends, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. What value would that have? America would go mad at us going alone either way. Just pull the plaster and do the one. What value would that have? America will go mad at us going alone either way. Just pull the plaster and be the ones to do it, says Urbane Legends. Yeah, but NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation. I know we could pull a Eurovision and just have Australia as part of it for some reason, even though it's nowhere near Europe. I do get that, but I think that staying in NATO at the moment would probably be a good idea. and we can be more than one organisation at once. And thank you very much for the super chat. We are part of lots of overlapping groups around the world. I once did a list. I did a blog entry before the Brexit referendum called 3 Reasons Why All True Patriots Will Vote Remain, and one of them listed all of the international groups that Britain is part of, and it's like 50 of them. It's an insane number of these international groups that we are part of, not just the famous ones like the UN and the WTO and NATO and at the time the European Union, but loads of like groups that I hadn't even heard of that operate around the world, that Britain's like on the board as an advisor for, because people respected past tense what Britain's opinion was on certain matters, and we had a lot of soft power, which we've frittered away quite a lot of that via Brexit, not just Brexit but also by reducing the amount of foreign aid that we give out to countries. Foreign aid that we invest in other countries. But yeah, I think that when I talk about these people like Trump and Putin, who just spoiler politics, they call it, don't they? They just know destruction. Destruction doesn't create legitimacy. It just, you see, because authoritarians throughout history, and nothing new now, they confuse fear with respect, and democracies don't do that. You've got to build respect by doing great things and by making people feel good, and it's one of the reasons why Keir Starmer's flailing so badly at the moment. He doesn't have the respect of the people because he's not making people's lives better, and he's not the kind of person who can rule through fear, because there's nothing fearful about him. And like these spoilers, these people who just want to destroy stuff, just want to watch the world burn, are one-offs in a way, because I do not think that the Putin regime will survive without Putin. I don't think that the Trump regime, the MAGA regime, will survive without Trump, because he's just about ridiculous enough to make things happen. But the rest of them, I mean, they have his incompetence, but they don't have his charisma. So who, like JD Vance, is he going to become president? I mean, who's going to vote for him? Who's going to go to bat for him? He's a guy who can't even order a fucking donut without coming across as a total inept, sketchy, blinky weirdo. Urbane, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. If you're paying to be in a club and the head of the club is threatening members of it, you need to at least suspend them if you don't want to boot them. We're not paying to be in the club, though. We don't pay to be in NATO. This is a bit of a misunderstanding, I think. What NATO says is we need to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence, which we do, by the way. That's it, on our defence. The idea for America, just reading between the lines, is that we will use that money, that extra money, to buy American armaments, to buy stuff off the American industrial military complex. But here's the thing. Quite a lot of the stuff that Britain's buying and Germany's buying and France is buying, it's coming from Europe. It's not coming from America. I mean, there's some of it is, but yeah, quite a lot of it. It's not actually helping the American economy at all. There you go. Have you seen Crabman's videos on Vance? No, I haven't. Chris C. Streeting has announced that young people leaving care in England will receive pre-prescription and dental and eye services up to their 25th birthday. That's fantastic news. His self-imposed red lines deserve derision, not respect. And David Peacock says Starmer has my respect. Yeah, I mean, your mileage may vary, but I think that Starmer never had the benefit of the doubt, unlike other politicians who had the benefit of the doubt from like the get-go. I don't think he's ever had it, and therefore I think he's had to fight even harder than most other politicians to just just stay still. And I think that may well be his downfall. I don't know, but he did manage, to give him some credit, He did manage to tear the Tory party apart and get them down to 121 MPs. He did manage to win an absolute landslide victory for Labour, even though it's very shallow but very wide. He did manage to do that. He managed to turn the Labour Party around. A lot of us thought when Labour lost in 2019 that was it for 10 years. It would take that long to get Labour back into a position where people were prepared to vote for it again. And he managed to do it. So you got to take the rough with the smooth, I guess. But there's still a long way to go, and it makes me happy when I see a news story like that about them saying they're going to provide free prescriptions and medication and dentistry to people leaving care up to the age of 25. That's a great thing to do. That is a step in the right direction. I will support that 100%. And I go back to what Uncle Phil says when he says, I'd rather have a party in power that does 50% of what I want it to do than a party that does nothing. And Labour so far have done quite a bit of what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to get rid of the 2-child cap. They've done that. I wanted them to have a better relationship with Europe. They have done that. Instead of having a meeting every 5 years, they're going to have a meeting every year. And the rumblings about rejoining the single market, the customs union, are going to rumble on. Quite rightly. Good. I want them to. They've also raised taxes for the super fucking dirty rich. They've put fuel duty on private jets. They have put VAT on private schools. They have gone after mansions in Chelsea that a little old grandmother lives in. It's a £6 million mansion, and she lives there on her own, and she only pays £2.50 a year in council tax. They've upped her council tax. Good. And what's happening in the farms where people were buying up vast tracts of land in order to avoid in having to pay inheritance, their kids having to pay inheritance tax, and that loophole's been closed, and they're freaking out about it. Trail hunting is going to be banned as well because they keep killing animals, especially foxes, but other animals as well, keeping getting torn apart by hounds, which is a horrific thing to do to any living thing. And they go, oh well, you can't. We're running through the forest we're galloping through the forest on horseback, chasing the hounds. And if the hounds happen to find a fox along the way, well, that's just a bit of collateral damage. No, it's not. It's horrific. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad about the Renters' Rights Act that's come in, and the Workers' Rights Act that's come in as well, which have overhauled the rights of workers and of renters for the first major overhaul in a generation. This is the biggest overhaul of workers' rights since they brought in the last Labour government brought in minimum wage. So there's a lot there that is pretty good. And if you go on full fact of Labour's achievements, let's have a look at. Should we have a look at this? Full fact. I'm not here as a mouthpiece for Labour. Government tracker. Where is it on in policies? Here we go. Full fact government tracker. I'll bring this up. Sorry, I'm dealing with one screen at the moment. So I should get another screen, shouldn't I? Nick it off me mum's computer. There you go. Government tracker here. So you can see achieved, appears on track, in progress, appears off track, not kept, unclear, disputed, wait and see, right? So they're your sort of what are they called, categories for what Labour's been doing. This is on the Full Fact website, which is an independent site. It's not a Labour site. It's not labour.org or whatever. This is Full Fact, right? So this goes through 86 policies in the manifesto, 18 of which have been achieved, 17 appear on track, and 21 are in progress. So of the 86 things that they have been promising, all but 30 have either been achieved, on track, or in progress. And they have only been in power for 18 months, and that's not saying that, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, But this is the stuff they said they were going to do, and way over 50% of what they said they're going to do is either been achieved, appears on track, or in progress. So we can have a look at, what comes up here. Giving children the best start in life, with a record 75% of 5-year-olds in England ready to learn when they start school. That's under wait and see. And then the economy, kickstart economic growth to secure the highest sustained growth in the G7. That appears off track, but then, you've got other factors. Don't forget when Labour were elected, Trump wasn't president. We will fix an additional 1 million potholes across England in each year of the next Parliament. That's in progress. Obviously, that can't be said, yes, we did it, until, I guess, the end of the Parliament. We will immediately abolish Section 21 no-fault evictions, and that appears to be on track by December the 8th. And we can go through them. They've got all of the things that, are going on. But like housing, we will immediately update the national policy planning framework to undo damaging conservative changes, including restoring mandatory housing targets, and they've achieved that. Labour will establish a national wealth fund. We don't really talk about this enough, but that has been achieved as of the 22nd of October. Labour will end the VAT exemption and business rates relief for private schools. That has been achieved. So, I mean, we can go on. We can go on through it. So, look, I get it, right? There's a lot of things that Labour... Oh, thank you for the super chat. Jimmy Kimmel reports that Trump has sold US weapons probably meant for Ukraine to Russia and is also building a loyal private army. That does not surprise me. I'm disappointed but not surprised. But there you go. And then the Tories and Refuck have already stated they will repeal those new acts if they get into power. The inheritance tax thing they whine about, there's so many allowances and ways around it that protests don't make much sense for an actual farmer. Andy, that's the way I feel about it as well. There are ways, it's a business, right? So as far as I'm aware, if you have a business like a department store and then you retire, right, and then you pass the business on to someone else, they don't pay inheritance tax. Like, I don't understand why they would pay inheritance tax, even if it's your kid. Like, why would they? The business has been moved on, even if you sell it to your kid for $5 or something. It's now your kids. How is that not giving aid and comfort to our enemies? Well, Trump doesn't see America as doesn't see Russia as the enemy. He sees Americans as the enemy, as we see with ICE running around rounding people up. So if you have an allowance for each person, there's ones on farm equipment. I think it adds up to 5 million quid. Yeah, 5 million quid of stuff that you can give to the next generation without having to pay a single penny of inheritance tax on it. The family farm isn't the real reason. It's the mega landlords who are getting tax-free income stream cut. Yeah, and that's why they're going mad about it. And they have the money they can afford. So they'll have people working on their land who they can pay to go to London in a tractor to protest on the landlord's behalf. Sarah's got to go. Okay, Sarah, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Sarah. But yeah, just to sort of closing thoughts on Trump and Putin and their constant attacks on Europe. You've got Trump and Putin, different styles, but they've got the same grievances. They both resent the systems that judge them, the old side eye. They're both very thin-skinned personalities. They prefer personal loyalty over institutions. They both mistake disruption for dominance, and they both are accelerating the very nationalistic decline that they say that they fear the most. They pretend that they don't want their countries to sink into the quagmire, but they are very much not draining the swamp, but pumping the swamp full of microplastics and toxins. So yeah, the Europe is really the last major bloc. Don't forget this, okay? So look at the major blocs around the world. You've got America, you've got Russia, you've got China, India, and then you've got the EU. And the EU is the last major bloc that is absolutely committed to multilateralism, to an imperfect but functioning countermodel to this authoritarian, ego-driven politics of Putin and Trump, where everyone's either a hero or a traitor. You're with us, or you're with me, or you're against the country, and the EU is proof that power can be shared rather than seized, and that's why it's under attack from both sides. It's being attacked by the Russians, it's being attacked by the Americans at the same time at the moment, and we really have to hunker down and work together and make closer and closer relations with our European brothers and sisters in order to weather this fucking storm. Because I'll sign off on this particular topic by saying it's not going to last forever. No one's going to replace Trump and be Trump. He's the last of his fucking breed. He's the last of his kind. He is the white whale, or an orange whale in his case, who, once he's gone, that's it. I mean, Russia might get another authoritarian leader. I'm sure it will, but who gives a fuck? It's Russia. It's a fucking backwards fucking also ran. Whereas America is still important, still economically dominant in this world, still militarily dominant. Don't forget, America spends more on its military than the next 25 powers put together, 25 countries put together. And so I'm hoping that we can weather this storm and we can push for closer integration with Europe, which will help us in the long run, and also push for, on the side, we can't do this officially through our government. Our government can push for closer relations with Europe. They cannot realistically support the rebellion against Trump and everything he's trying to do. But we can support people who are standing up and saying no, fuck off. So this is why it's important that we survive this attack from both sides, and we show that democratic, fair, transparent systems that allow for a free press and a free association, free speech for everyone. Not speech that comes without responsibility. That's something else, but a world in which we can live and love and travel and dance and get married and fall in love, no matter what we've written on Facebook 5 years ago, no matter what post we liked on X, no matter what time we thought it was funny that someone did a gif of Trump as a pig, and we said haha or lol. We wrote the word lol underneath it. I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in a world where we're all looking over our shoulders in case we say something, in case we get a tap on the shoulder and we're sent off to a fucking gulag at the leaders, at Big Brother's command. I don't want to live in the world. It's sad that there's 77 million Americans who do. It's sad that there are 25% of the British electorate who want to live under that rule and want to have MAGA in the UK. They want to have that. They want to have it where their grandchildren might be transported away and tortured to death. They think that would be a good thing. That would make men of them, apparently, for some of these older generation who are just insane. I mean, they've got to a point now where I can't even say that they're just, that they're operating with a full deck of cards, because they're clearly not. They are absolutely clearly not. You missed all the confetti, says Andy. Did I? I thought I did the confetti. Let's do the confetti again. Confetti! Yay. Should we do it again? We're coming up to about 1 hour and 48 minutes on the clock here, so I am going to have to wrap up fairly soon. But before I do, let's take a look at the papers. So a few sad stories on the front covers of the papers today. Most notably, yesterday was the funeral of Manny from the Stone Roses, and also lately of Primal Scream. Manny United, it says on the front cover of the Mirror there. We've also got Palace exclusive, King of Industry, Charles's year's hardest working royal despite battle with cancer. And okay, cool, that's nice that he's managed to do that. But it says hardest working royal. Like I give a fuck. Sorry, but wow. What do you want me to say to that? Okay, The royal, not the hardest working person, the hardest working royal. All right. Anyway, and then there's a story there about Chris Rea dying at the age of 74, which is sad, obviously, and a story about Strictly Come Dancing for some reason. Then we've got the cost of union officials paid time off to be secret. NHS and schools will not have to declare how much taxpayers' money is spent on faculty. Facility time. I don't even know what that is. And then we've got animal plan sets to ban on boiling lobsters alive. And there you go. You got these reindeers, I guess. And then there's a really, really, really horrific story here at the bottom of the Times newspaper. It's in the corner here, and I'll try and blow it up for you. Ex-wife's rape claims, and it looks like that horrific crime that was committed in France, in which a woman was drugged repeatedly by her husband, and then other men had sex with her while he filmed it. Raped her. I say have sex, raped her while she was unconscious. It appears that there's the same sort of thing happened here in the UK. Absolutely shocking, absolutely horrific. More than 60 sexual offences committed against this woman by her ex-husband and other men. A rebuff for streeting, so Keir Starmer will stick to his red lines when it comes to the EU. Bomb kills general. Hurrah! A Russian general in charge of combat training for troops in Ukraine was killed when a bomb attached to the bottom of his car exploded in Moscow. Oh dear, how sad, never mind. EU export woes. More than half of British businesses are struggling to expand their sales in Europe, where trade frictions appear to be worsening, research has found. Well, Kel Surprise, and this is the Murdoch rag that's telling us this, and the future of baseball, which is something to do with cricket, which I can't give a fuck about right now. Ex-councillor drugged and raped wife with other men. A former Tory councillor. So this is the story that I was just talking about. Obviously, it's on the front page here of the news. A business consultant. A really, really horrific story. Fucking Tories. Honestly, I mean, I would be horrified if they were from any party, but God, it's not a good look, is it, for the Tories? A former Tory councillor. This is the kind of people that they're putting forward for election. Wow. Fucking hell. And there's a beef Wellington there. Okay. And then Chris Rea dies at Christmas, driving home for Christmas legend. Manny in a Million. That's the flowers there, and it's got Liam Gallagher saying his farewells. Liam was one of the coffin bearers, along with Ian Brown from the Stone Roses, and I think Bobby Gillespie from Primal Scream as well. Just really sad. So many people came out to see Manny's coffin. Although it did say R Kid, but you couldn't see it. It didn't look like an R because it had the flower over the middle bit of the R. And then we'll move on to the next one. Let's all back Britain's vibrant high streets there. Post Office chief vows to strengthen services and access cash next year. Okay. And then a story about Chris Rea dying. And then the Palestine Action hunger strikes over here on the front cover of the Guardian. Families plead with Lamy over Palestine Action hunger strikes. Justice Secretary under pressure as health of prisoners deteriorates. Okay, families and supporters of Palestine Action affiliated hunger strikers have pleaded with David Lammy to meet them in an attempt to end the impasse over the process that has left some of them severely unwell. I don't know what he can do though. Like we can't end diplomatic relations with Israel. The stuff that the people are calling for on this hunger strike, we can't do. Okay, maybe if What happens if Lammy goes to meet them and they say, we want you to do this, and he goes, I can't do that, and they go, right, okay, we're going to continue hunger striking, and then he's going to look even worse, because it's going to be like, you could have saved them and you chose not to. But then if he doesn't do anything, he doesn't meet them and they die, it's the same thing. This is a really difficult situation. I don't know what the right answer is in all this. I don't think this is helping the people of Palestine in any way, shape or form. And it's just a horrible, horrible story. I just wish it wasn't happening in this day and age. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I don't even know how I feel about this. I just think it's really, really sad. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to suffer. Except for, obviously, the people that I sometimes mention that I would like to see unalived. But yeah, these people, they've done nothing wrong. Yeah. I don't know. What are people saying in the chat? Damn, there's a Christmas killer. Is it Mariah Carey? What, on the front cover of the newspapers? Right, Patton all sang Christmas songs and past days before Christmas. Kirsty MacColl, George Michael, now Chris Rea. Well, that's why you shouldn't sing Christmas songs, I guess. Okay, and then we've also got this really shit story also in the... Oh, God, what's going on? Sorry about that. This really shit story here. Big firms roll back their public support for Pride. This is really grim. The UK's biggest businesses are rolling back the public support for Pride celebrations. Guardian analysis suggests, and just like everyone in the trans community has been screaming for years now, these groups going after trans people, they're not going to stop at trans people. They're then going to go after the rest of the LGBTQ plus community, and then they're going to go after women, which they've done in America. We've already seen this happening in America, where there's been a case brought to the Supreme Court to try and undo gay marriage. There's been stories of in schools of gay children being bullied and harassed, and nothing being done about it. And the attack on women in America is just mind-blowing. Like the fact that women in certain states in America can be sexually assaulted by a member of their own family, get pregnant at the age of 11 and have to give birth to that child. Even if the baby dies inside them, they find it very difficult to have an abortion with a dead baby inside them or dead fetus that's gonna kill them if it's not taken out. The attack on women's rights in America is off the charts, and it all started with an attack on trans people, and they used that as a Trojan horse to go after everybody else that they don't want in any positions of power. And unless you are a middle-aged, middle-class, white, Anglo-Saxon speaking, English speaking, rich person, billionaire, they don't want anything to do with you. They want you to suffer and they want you to die. And the biggest revenge that we can have on these motherfuckers is by having a life well lived and not dying and not putting up with their shit and calling it out at every opportunity. There's Chris Rea there on the front cover of the Daily Telegraph there. Rea dies 3 days before Christmas. How fat jabs ruined the big Christmas lunch. The Daily Telegraph, what a rag this newspaper is. Karen Carney, punditry crushed me but strictly saved me. Okay. Non-crime hate to be scrapped. Incidents branded. Threat to free speech replaced by common sense approach. So, just allowing bigots to say what they like because they went to private school, and how dare we question the hurtful things they say. Don't switch to 4-day week. Minister orders councils. Labour has ordered councils not to adopt a 4-day working week. Okay. And then we've got houseboat swallowed in canal chasm chaos, which is insane. If you have a look at that footage, it's mad. This canal, which was up on an embankment, so it was like a bit of flat land, and then there was a hill like that. And what they've done is they've built the canal by putting a big mud bank here and then having the canal there, so it's higher land to one side and it's lower land to the other, and the mound that they've built, there's probably a proper word for it, the embankment or whatever it's called, has just collapsed, and it's just swallowed these boats down, and it's just, wow, it's amazing no one was hurt. I'm amazed no one was hurt. Macron's butler stole silverware from palace. That's not good. Pelts in 5 billion swoop for city fund manager. Okay. And then silicosis scandal. Save other men like me from killer kitchens. Young worker diagnosed with incurable lung disease, silicosis, as well as COPD and emphysema after cutting quartz kitchen worktops in a fog of dust. That is really bad that was allowed to happen and they weren't given the proper PPE. That's awful. It's really awful. And then there's a story here. I was a cabin crew for 45 years. I know why passengers' behaviour is getting worse. Possibly because, here you go, listen to me. If you treat people like animals, they will behave like animals. Okay? Yeah? Right, good. I'm glad we got that through to people. Jesus Christ. And then finally, we'll go and have a look at the Financial Times. Binance failed to close down suspicious crypto flows despite $4 billion US plea deal. There was a settlement in 2023. Trump has pardoned the chief of Binance, and this platform, Binance, has failed to stop hundreds of millions of dollars of cryptocurrency from flowing through suspicious accounts, even after promising to improve its conduct in the landmark $4.3 billion US criminal settlement in 2023. So yeah, that's crypto being used for crime dough. The stock market winners and losers of 2025. Going back in time here. Trump's tariff policy is already bearing fruit. Are you kidding me? Retail therapy stores look for festive healing over there. What have we got over here? Tariff hangover threatens Scotland's whiskey makers. That's Trump's tariffs there, fucking things up for everybody but themselves. Trade deal with Brussels leaves exporters frustrated. Apollo braced for turmoil. Lobsters win some rights. Blast kills Russian general. Yes. US halts turbine licenses. So this is about America getting rid of all wind turbines that it was building and not building anymore, and stopping the ones that they were in the middle of building. Lou takes role at the HSBC. Greenland envoy named. So this is an envoy who wants to annex Greenland as part of the American empire. And EU holds back Stellantis. Okay, cool. Which is the sister city of Atlantis. The saws spray water as they cut to stop the dust. It creates a horrible sludge. You would expect the health and safety to make sure that people weren't breathing in silicon dust, because that is clearly very bad for people's health. The bank collapsed. It's not a chasm. Happened last year too. Left boats stranded for months. Yeah. Someone said it was a sinkhole. There was a thing on the BBC calling it, and I was looking at it going, that's not a sinkhole. You know, I'm not a structural engineer. You know, I'm not a manufacturer of canals. Jesus, I'm not a digger of canals. But I looked at it and went, no, the bank's falling over, and all the water's flowing into the field. Rainbow capitalism. Graham, have you started your meds? No, in typical ADHD style, I got into bed last night and went, oh shit, I was supposed to start my meds today. That was yesterday, so I'm going to start them today. But apparently they can make you drowsy, so I'm going to wait till the evening before I take them. Shane McGowan was born on Christmas Day. I'll add that to the others. Yeah, go on then. He died on end of November, didn't he? End of November 2 years ago. Jesus Christ. That's gone fast. These shite hawks want the workhouses back, says Andy. Shite bags, sorry. Yes, they do. And they are shite hawks and shite bags. If you take everything from someone, they won't care about consequences. Yeah. People got nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. Yeah. And if you treat people like animals, they'll ask for directions to the nearest zoo. Yeah. Although I'm always a bit weary about the narrative, like things are getting worse, you know, people are behaving worse. People talking about crime being through the roof, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. Murder rates being through the roof, they're not. They're massively down on the 80s and 90s. Massively down. In fact, here we go. Murder rates UK by year. graph. There you go. Let's see what we've got. Generally rising from the 60s to a peak in 2002. So let's see if we can get an image. Let's see if we can get a graph. Wow. The UK homicide rate. Yeah, that's going down. Although the graph I've got that I'm looking at. Sorry, I know you can't see it, but it doesn't look that is great. Let's have a look. So the crime survey. Wow. Let's have a look. It is a lot lower. So basically, if you look at the data from, that ends in 2018, doesn't it? Violent incidents of violence per 100,000 adults reached a peak of 64 per 1,000 adults in 1995, and by 2017 it had fallen to 13. So from 64 out of 1,000 it went down to 13. It's pretty good. It's not perfect. We need to work on it a bit better. But shitehawks, says Urbane Legends. Great swear word, that, isn't it? Shitehawks and gobshites, the lot of them. But yeah. It was a culvert that ran underneath that collapsed, causing the canal bed to erode and eventually collapse, form a boat. A culvert, is that the correct term for it? Well, there you go. Well, my dad told me at times when teddy boys had razor blades in their lapels, routinely carried knives, and the past was far worse. Yes, it absolutely was. And people got away with it as well. People just aren't getting away with stuff anymore. Murder rates UK by year graph. Fucking hell. Homicide in England and Wales. Let's have a look. Latest release. Trends in homicide. So yeah. Wow, there was a big peak in 2003. I think that was caused by Harold Shipman. But yeah, the offences currently recorded as homicide per million population for year ending March 2024 is 9.5. 9.5 per million. Okay, so that's slightly under 1 in 100,000. And so that was 2024 murder rate. We go back to March 2012. The offences were 15.1 per million. Sorry, 17.9. Jesus, 17.9 million. But that was slightly because of the almost ridiculous number of people killed by Harold Shipman. That was uncovered in March 2003, I guess. Well, around that time. So it's gone down from a high of 17.9 to what it is now, which is 9.5. And if we go back to, let's go back to just grab a date. December 1995, it was 13. So just to remind you, 9.5 last year. 9.5 in 1995 it was 13. In 1987 it was 11.9. And we have to go all the way back 9.7. Okay, we have to go all the way back to 19, let me get this right. Yep 1977, December 1977, to find a year where fewer people got killed than in the year ending March 2024. So in my entire life, the year where I was least likely to get murdered was last year. But there's more murders than ever. There's more crimes than ever. It's just you go to London and it's just everyone's just stabbing each other for their mobile phones. It's not true. It's not true. Anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, joining me on the show. Do you know what else we don't have anymore? Serial killers. We don't have any serial killers anymore. Have you noticed that? Well, there's serial killers. Where have all the serial killers gone? That's what I want to know. Yeah, Nick Ferrari on ITV eating cake. Probably not a good move. He's already completely spherical. Another thing to blame Midgley for. What did Midgley do wrong? Andrew Ridge? No. Just give me a check to take a drink because I've just got a little frog in my throat. I just finished my coffee, so I think that's time to call it a night, a day, a morning, whatever you want to call it. God, it's really grim outside. It's like, it's really grey, overcast here in Liverpool. But now the days are getting a bit longer because we're past the 21st, aren't we? We're past the solstice. Yeah, that all looks good. Daylight time, they haven't been caught. No, but this is the thing. There's no serial killers at large that we know of. Like, it would be all over the newspapers. It'd be like there's a guy going around killing people with a hammer in Shropshire, and it's almost as though there was a big heyday of psycho killers in the 80s and 90s, and then that particular generation decided, the generations that came after it, that particular generation decided they didn't want to be serial killers. Wasn't a thing they aspired to as children. Anyway, all the serial killers are women in Parliament, says Amy. Yeah, good point. Good point, Amy. Well made. Okay, I might do a show tonight. I probably won't. I'll tell you now because, again, I'm out visiting people for Christmas. But I will definitely be doing a show tomorrow, special Christmas Eve edition of Morning Brew, Christmas Brew, maybe. Christmas Eve. Come join me for Christmas Eve. And it's dark as fuck here, says Diz. Yeah, I'm not even in my cave today. Pete says, BBC Two, today they're showing another Baby Jesus film. Again, bringing religion into Christmas. Nothing is sacred. What would Baby Santa have to say? But thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day, whatever you do. I think today's a day for sitting on the couch and eating chocolate and watching movies, to be honest with you. But, you know, your mileage may vary. And, I hope to see you tomorrow morning. I hope you see me tomorrow morning. I just want to say thank you for joining me. And thanks for all the lovely comments and taking part in the conversation here on the live stream. Thank you for keeping me sane throughout the year. I do really appreciate it. You know, if I was just going mad in my kitchen every morning reading the news, going I couldn't sort of have this pressure valve of talking about it and talking through the issues and knowing there are some people out there that agree with me. Knowing that I'm not alone, it matters. It helps. It really does help. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the super chats. Obviously, that keeps this channel afloat, and massively appreciated. So thank you so much. And until next time, I'll say thank you for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.